Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing It Came From the Network. The topic of this It Came From the Network, Survivor Series 1987. And this comes to us as a recommendation from my cousin John. John, I love you, my brother. I put this out on our community page, which is a good reason why you should subscribe. You can see the information I usually post there, the shows I'm going to review for Walking in Memphis. Also, every now and again, if I have quote-unquote writer's block, or I just feel like, letting you guys make a choice on what I'm going to do with the show, I'll put out a request like this, and he was the first one to answer. Technically, Bucky the American Samurai, he answered first, but he didn't give a specific show. So Bucky, if you want me to review something with Superstar Billy Graham, I need a specific show. Anyway, with that being said, if you've not seen my shows before, we grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. Let's jump right into it. The first match of the show, we get Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Randy Macho Man Savage, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and they're going up against Dangerous Danny Davis, not the one from Memphis, the referee, Handsome Harley Race, or King Harley Race at the time, Hercules, Outlaw Ron Bass, and the Honky Tonk Man. Yep, that's 5. Anyway, I'm not going to give every elimination in order because this would be a 3-hour video if I did that. This is probably, I want to say this is my favorite match of the show. This was very enjoyable. A couple things I thought stood out to me. Steamboat is on a team with Savage 8 months after their feud, or not even 8 months after their feud at WrestleMania, which Savage had put him out of wrestling for a little while. Kind of. I know it's wrestling and that happens all the time. I forgot that it happened that quickly. Also, I believe that just before that, there was an injury angle with Jake the Snake and Steamboat. So Steamboat's on a team with 2 guys that injured him within the past couple years. Kind of interesting to me. I thought this was a really fun match, a really good way to open it, especially this is the first Survivor Series. So they're giving you what a Survivor Series could be. You have some of the greatest workers of all times, Jake Roberts, Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, Harley Race. I mean, all fantastic wrestlers. Honky Tonk Man, highly underrated. Hercules as well. Hercules is underrated. Overall, the face team wins with the survivors being Randy Savage, Jake Roberts, and Ricky Steamboat. I'm going to give this a 4. I did like how it ended, where Honky, instead of facing off 3 against 1, he decided to walk away and take the count out. I thought that fit perfectly with his character. Like I said, I'm going to give this a 4. Next up from that, we get an interview with the Andre the Giant's team for the main event, which is Andre the Giant, Butch Reed, King Kong Bundy, One Man Gang, and Ravishing Rick Rude, and they have their managers there with them, so there's like 7 people in here. The one thing I'm going to say about these interviews is it's the 1980s, and I'm going to put allegedly because I don't want to get sued by slander. Allegedly, the cocaine was flowing this night. Allegedly, again, on these, and if you watch these interviews, allegedly, the cocaine seems to have taken over all of these interviews because they're very, how can I say, out there. They're manic, they're all over the place, yeah, you'll see. If you watch this video, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, coming from that interview, we go into our Women's Survivor Series match. We have a team of the Fabulous Mula. These next 2, I'm going to butcher their names because I don't think I've ever heard their actual names. I don't think even WWE said them, or if they did, it was like once. The team of the Jumping Bomb Angels, which is at Itsuki Yamazaki and Nario Tatano. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I thought you guys were fantastic. Everything, even back then, I liked what they did. I do remember, and even here, they just call them the Jumping Bomb Angels every time they tag in and out. Anyway, they team up with Mula and them 2 and Rockin' Robin and Velvet McIntyre, and that's the face team for the women, and they're going up against Dawn Marie, not the one from ECW, Donna Christinello, which I don't remember her at all, Leilani Kai, and Judy Martin, who were the Glamour Girls, and their partner was Sherry Martel, who at the time was the WWF Women's Champion. I thought this was a fun match. I mean, I take that back. For the time, for what the women were doing, this was an okay match. The definite highlight of the match were the Jumping Bomb Angels, and I'm not going to try and pronounce their name again because I know I'm not pronouncing it right. But you have stars here. You have Mula, you have Rockin' Robin, Velvet McIntyre, Sherry Martel, Leilani Kai, and Judy Martin, who were the Glamour Girls. Kind of, if you remember this era, the Glamour Girls and the Jumping Bomb Angels had a lengthy feud over the Women's Tag Team Championship. Yes, that was a thing in the 80s. This match, it wasn't good. Jumping Bomb Angels are definitely the star. They are the sole survivors. They're the winners for the team, both of the Jumping Bomb Angels. I'm going to give this a 2. It wasn't as bad as some of the women's wrestling I've seen of the period, but it's definitely light years away from where they are now. And even the Divas era of WWE was better wrestling than what is shown here. Next up, we get interviews with the Tag Team Survivor Series teams. First the heels, then the faces. I'm going to go over who's all on the teams here in a moment while we talk about their match. Again, 80s, allegedly, cocaine. That's all I'm going to say. We got for the face team, we get the British Bulldogs, the Killer Bees, the Young Stallions, which if you're not familiar with the Young Stallions, was Paul Roma and Jim Powers, basically a jobber team that they were trying to push. The Rougeau Brothers and Strike Force, which is Tito Santana and Rick Martel, and they're going up against the Bolsheviks. The Demolition, the Dream Team, this version is Greg Valentine and Dino Bravo because Beefcake had already turned face. The Hart Foundation and the Islanders. This was a crazy match. I mean, 20 people altogether involved in this. This was fun. It did get to a point where it felt like it started dragging. And I said this before, on these shows where they do one gimmick all the way through, you get to a certain point in the show where the gimmick itself, no matter how good the matches are, starts getting old. I kind of see now why they went to a format where there's only a couple of the Survivor Series matches on the show and they're split up with regular singles or tag team matches as well. This was an okay match, good. I think it was a little bit long. It overstayed its welcome a bit, which took a little bit off for me. Strike Force and the Young Stallions pick up the win on this. I'm giving this a 3. Like I said, they were trying to push the Young Stallions, but they had been a jobber, and kind of the story of Paul Roma's career. He had a fantastic look, and he was actually a really good wrestler. I like his Power and Glory team better than I like the Young Stallions, but they used him as a jobber for too long, and I know a lot of people don't like that. He was a guy that got people over, and no one ever really bought him as anything but. Next up, we get a vignette on how Ted DiBiase is spending his Thanksgiving, which is him driving around in a limousine, which, by the way, this show happened on Thanksgiving 1987. We see a lot of the old DiBiase vignettes. There's one in there, and if you go back and watch this, I am not 100% sure, but I'm about 80% sure. There's a clip where he makes a woman bark like a dog, and it kind of looks and sounds like Linda McMahon. I don't know if it really was. I tried to look it up. I've seen that there are people that say both ways. But definitely, if you watch this, look for that clip. They didn't show the famous one with Rob Van Dam. They did show the dribbling kid one, which was the one that always stuck out to me, where he kicked the ball out of the kid's hands. Anyway, from that, then we get an interview with the Honky Tonk Man talking about why he basically left. Then we get an interview with Hulk Hogan's team, which is going to be team facing Andre the Giant's team for the main event. There was a lot of stalling between the third and fourth match. It was only a 4-match card. Then we go to the ring, and again, Hogan's interview. 80s. Allegedly, white powder. That's all I'm going to say again. Watch these interviews. You will definitely understand what I'm saying if you watch these interviews. They're freaking insane. But anyway, I digress. We get the main event of the evening, the fourth and final match. Andre the Giant, the Natural Butch Reed, King Kong Bundy, the One Man Gang, and Ravishing Rick Rude, going up against Bam Bam Bigelow, Don the Rock Morocco, who had turned face, Hulk Hogan, Ken Patera, and Paul Orndorff. This is kind of an interesting grouping here. Morocco and Orndorff had recently turned face on this. Bigelow, I believe he was still relatively new at the time of this. I don't think he debuted, but maybe a month or two before this. I might be wrong. I might be totally off on my thinking. The face team was more heel or just turned heels or turned faces, but Patera was classically a heel earlier in his career. This was a later in the career of Ken Patera, who wasn't nowhere near as good as he was in the early 80s. Ken Patera was really good in the early 80s. He wasn't that here. Injuries and some time off from wrestling took its toll on him. Andre, of course, everybody knows the stories about Andre. This was Andre's first match since WrestleMania 3, the match that everybody knows. And the main reason for this was to get Hogan and Andre in the ring together again without giving away the rematch. I enjoyed this match. The sole survivor and the winner for his team is Andre the Giant, which I absolutely thought was the right thing to do. As soon as he wins, Hulk Hogan comes out and attacks Andre the Giant so we could get the Hulk Hogan pose off. Not premeditated, basically a heel move. Andre and the team, Andre did nothing that deserved Hogan to come back out. He didn't screw Hogan over in the match. And I talked about this with one of my friends the other day about Hulk Hogan and how he really wrestled and acted more like a heel, even though he was the ultimate babyface. This here, stealing the spotlight from Andre, I mean, basically it was a heel move. If Andre would have cheated to win, it would have made more sense. Anyway, I digress. Like I said, Andre picked up the win here. I'm giving this one a 3. I thought it was good. After that, we get an interview in the back with Andre the Giant, basically saying he told you he was going to win. They're basically going to set up the eventual rematch between the two. It's the hottest feud in the WWF at the time, so why not continue it? Overall, I'm going to give the show a 3. It was enjoyable. The concept of the Survivor Series match, I think it's a fun concept, and when done right, it's done really well. It did get to where it dragged, where it was only, I would have liked to see, if they could have made this a six matches on the card, and maybe 3 of them were Survivor Series matches, and 3 of them were one-on-one matches, or even tag team matches. There was no match of real consequence here. The Women's Championship wasn't defended. The World Championship wasn't defended. The Intercontinental Championship wasn't defended. The tag titles weren't defended. So ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, this was a card with no real consequences. They could have easily did this, and instead of the first match, put Honky Tonk Man defending the Intercontinental title against somebody else. Or if they wanted to go the route of having the women's match on the show, have a women's championship match instead of the match where I believe most of the talent there were, even if they were in WWE, they were only part-timers at the time. Again, the tag team match they were good matches, don't get me wrong, they were good. It just felt like by the time we got to the tag team match, it started to drag on a bit. The DiBiase vignette actually really helped to split up that monotony. The crazy interviews are what I enjoyed the most on the show. Again, don't do drugs, kids, and like Rick James said, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Allegedly. I'm just going off of rumors that I've heard for my entire life. But anyway, this was a fun show. Again, I'm going to give it a 3. I'd recommend checking it out for the historical significance of it all. It was okay. Like I said, to me, the interviews were the best part. Overall, another fun show. And I want to say thank you again to my cousin John. John, I know you're going to watch this. I love you, man. You're not only are you my cousin, but you're one of my best friends in the whole world. So I appreciate all your support over the years, my friend. It was nice getting to catch up with you the other day. We don't do that quite enough. We should make up sometime. Well, maybe you are kind of. You get it. But anyway, I'm just kidding around with him. We need to make plans to do this more often, hang out more often, because, again, you are one of my best friends, and I know, and anybody else that's watching this gives no shits about this. But anyway, I just wanted to give you that shout out again, my brother. If you guys made it to the end and you made it through all that, put cousins in the comments for my cousin John, and smash that like button, share, subscribe if you haven't. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And we're getting really close. At the time I'm recording this, we're less than 10 subscribers away. I'd really appreciate if you help me get there. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and it's been another It Came From the Network.